He kept delaying the one thing that mattered most, and it was never the silly stuff people joke about. It was the meaningful stuff that could actually change his life. He could answer emails fast, clean the house, organize files, help friends, even start small errands the moment they appeared. But the real work stayed untouched. The real work was the project. The conversation, the health, the decision, the thing with consequences. The thing that would force him to become someone new. He called it procrastination, but that word felt too casual. This wasn't laziness. This was avoidance with good manners. This is the story of Daniel, a man who looked productive on the outside and felt stuck on the inside. His calendar was full, but his life wasn't moving. Every morning, Daniel promised he would finally do it. Today I'll start. And every night, he felt that quiet shame again. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. He didn't understand why he could do small things instantly, but delay big things for months. The big things weren't harder. They were just more meaningful. Meaningful work is dangerous to the ego, because if you try, you might fail. And if you fail at something that matters, it feels like you failed as a person. So Daniel stayed safe. He stayed in tasks where failure didn't hurt, where effort didn't expose him, where nobody could judge his potential. He didn't say, "I'm afraid." He said, "I'm busy." Busy is the most socially acceptable hiding place in the world. One Monday, Daniel opened his laptop to begin the project he had been delaying for almost a year. A simple plan, a clear idea, something he cared about deeply. He stared at the blank page, and his brain instantly offered him an alternative. Before you start, just check your inbox. It sounded harmless. It sounded responsible. 5 minutes became 30. 30 became an hour. And when he looked up, his energy was gone. Not because the inbox stole his time, but because it stole his courage. He told himself he would start after lunch. After lunch became after work. After work became tomorrow. Tomorrow became a pattern. That night, Daniel scrolled until his eyes hurt, not because he enjoyed it, but because scrolling helped him avoid listening to his own regret. The next day, he tried again. Same plan. Same blank page. Same internal resistance. He felt like his mind was a locked door, and he lost the key. He asked himself, "Why do I keep delaying what matters most?" And the answer was uncomfortable, because what matters most is where you can lose. Small tasks feel safe because they end quickly and reward you quickly. Big tasks feel risky because they demand patience and make your identity feel exposed. Daniel kept thinking he needed more motivation, but motivation wasn't the missing piece. Clarity was, and clarity doesn't come from thinking forever. One evening, Daniel met an older coworker for coffee. The coworker was calm, sharp, and strangely consistent. Not flashy, just steady. Daniel confessed, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep delaying the important things." He expected a lecture. Instead, the coworker asked one question. "What do you feel right before you delay?" Daniel didn't answer quickly because he didn't want the truth. He sat with it until it surfaced. "Pressure," Daniel said. "Like if I start, it has to be good. Like it has to prove something." The coworker nodded like he had heard this 1,000 times. He said, "You're not delaying the work. You're delaying the feeling the work creates." That sentence hit Daniel harder than any motivational speech. Daniel realized procrastination wasn't about time management. It was emotional management. He wasn't avoiding tasks. He was avoiding discomfort. The coworker continued, "What matters most usually carries 3 fears. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of success." Daniel almost laughed at the last one. "Fear of success?" Daniel asked. The coworker said, "Yes, because success changes expectations. It changes identity. It demands consistency. Some people would rather stay stuck than become responsible." Daniel went home and replayed his patterns. Every time the work mattered, His mind created noise, research, planning, organizing, anything that looked like progress without being progress. He started noticing how intelligent his procrastination sounded. I need more information. I should optimize first. I'll do it when I have a full day. But those sentences weren't truth. They were comfort dressed as logic. His brain was protecting him from exposure. Daniel wrote a line in his notebook. I delay because I want safety, not because I lack time. Seeing it on paper made it real. The next morning, he tried a new approach. Instead of asking, how do I finish? He asked, how do I start without fear controlling me? He built a simple tool called the 3-layer delay test. Every time he caught himself delaying, he had to identify which layer was driving it. Layer 1, confusion. If he didn't know the next step, he would delay. Layer 2, perfection. If he wanted it to be great immediately, he would delay. Layer 3, fear. If the outcome mattered, he would delay. Daniel tested it in real time. He opened the project file and felt the resistance. He asked, which layer is this? It was mostly perfection, with fear underneath. So he made a new rule. He wasn't allowed to start with good. He had to start with ugly. Ugly drafts, ugly attempts, ugly beginnings. He called it the ugly first pass. The first version had one job only: exist, not impress, not prove. Just exist. Daniel opened the blank page and typed the worst title he could, and he wrote 3 messy bullet points. His brain wanted to stop him, but the rule was simple: make it ugly. 10 minutes later, something shifted. The fear was still there, but smaller. Because the moment the work existed, it stopped being a fantasy monster in his head. Daniel realized many delays are caused by starting pressure. You think the first step must carry the weight of the final result. That's why you freeze. He also realized how often he delayed because of identity. If he started, he would become the kind of person who has to follow through. That scared him more than he admitted. So he built another tool, the 10-minute contract. He promised himself 10 minutes daily on the important thing, no matter what, with permission to stop after. 10 minutes is small enough to reduce fear, but real enough to build evidence. And evidence is what the brain believes, not promises. The next day, Daniel did 10 minutes again. It didn't feel exciting. It felt plain. But plain work is what builds a life, not dramatic bursts. On day 3, he almost skipped. He felt tired and told himself he deserved rest. Then he noticed the pattern. Rest was becoming an excuse to avoid exposure again. He did 10 minutes anyway, and the moment he finished, he felt a quiet relief. Not relief from the work, relief from not betraying himself. That relief mattered because self-betrayal is exhausting. It creates background guilt that trains your attention all day. Daniel noticed something else. He was delaying not just a project, but an important conversation he needed to have with his partner about the future. He kept thinking, I'll talk when I have the right words. But the right words never came, because the real problem wasn't words. It was fear of conflict. He applied the 3-layer delay test again. Confusion? No. Perfection? Yes. Fear? Definitely. So he used the ugly first pass rule on the conversation too. He wrote a messy draft of what he needed to say, just to get it out of his head. Not perfect, not poetic, just honest. When the time came, he spoke simply. The conversation wasn't comfortable, but it was real. And real conversations are how relationships grow. Daniel began to understand a painful truth. You delay what matters most because it matters most. The weight of meaning creates fear, and fear creates delay. He also saw the trap of productive procrastination. Cleaning, organizing, researching, prepping. Those things feel good because they give you control without vulnerability. The important work demands vulnerability. It demands that you be a beginner. It demands that you risk looking bad before you get good. Daniel stopped asking, "How do I feel motivated?" He started asking, "How do I lower the emotional cost of starting?" That question changed his behavior. He created a rule called the doorway rule. When you feel resistance, don't solve the whole task. Just step through the doorway. The doorway is one physical action you can do in 60 seconds. Open the file. Put on the shoes. Write the first sentence. Send the first message. One move. He noticed something almost funny. The hardest part was often the first 30 seconds. After that, the mind calmed down because action removed uncertainty. That's why delay feels so strong. Delay keeps uncertainty alive. Starting kills uncertainty, even if the work is still hard. Over the next week, Daniel built a chain. 10 minutes daily. Ugly first pass. Doorway rule. He wasn't finishing everything, but he was finally moving. Then life tested him. A stressful week at work. Low sleep. More pressure. The old version of Daniel would have disappeared and told himself he'd restart later. This time, he protected one thing, the 10 minutes. Because consistency is not about having perfect weeks. It's about returning quickly when weeks get messy. He did 10 minutes on the worst day. It was sloppy, it was tired, it was enough. And that was the first time Daniel felt control without excitement. He realized the reason he kept delaying wasn't lack of discipline. It was lack of a system for fear. His old plan depended on mood. His new plan depended on rules. Daniel also discovered a deeper reason. Delaying what matters most keeps your self-image safe. If you never fully try, you never fully risk being wrong. But that safety has a cost. The cost is regret. And regret is heavier than effort when carried for years. One night, Daniel looked at his calendar and saw 7 days in a row of showing up. Not huge sessions, just 10 minutes. And he felt something stronger than motivation. He felt self-trust, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need hype because it's based on evidence. Evidence that he can keep a small promise. He wrote a final tool to protect himself from future delay. He called it the 2-choice frame. Every time he delays, he asks, "Am I choosing comfort now or progress later?" The question isn't meant to shame him. It's meant to clarify the trade. Because delay is a trade, and most people pretend it's not. Daniel learned to treat meaning like a compass. If something matters, it will feel heavier. That heaviness isn't a sign to wait. It's a sign to shrink the start. Shrink the start until it becomes impossible to avoid. Then repeat. That's how you turn meaningful goals into daily behavior. If you're delaying what matters most, don't call yourself lazy. Ask the real questions. What feeling am I avoiding? Which layer is driving this delay? If it's confusion, define the next physical action. If it's perfection, use the ugly first pass. If it's fear, use the 10-minute contract and prove you can start anyway. Then protect your chain with one rule. Never let one missed day become 2. Delay loves streak breaks because breaks create identity collapse. Keep your system simple. One list, one priority, one timer, one doorway action. Your mind doesn't need more pressure. It needs less complexity. Daniel didn't become fearless. He became consistent. He learned that fear doesn't disappear before action. Fear fades after action begins. He finally understood the cruel trick. The important things never feel urgent the way small tasks do. They feel heavy, and heaviness is easy to postpone. But the important things compound. Health, relationships, skills, savings, purpose. If you delay them, the cost grows quietly until it becomes pain. Daniel stopped waiting for the perfect time. He started creating time. 10 minutes daily, ugly drafts, doorway steps. That was enough to break the spell. He learned to respect small starts. Small starts don't look impressive, but they are honest. And honesty is what builds a life you don't need to escape from. If you want the practical reset today, do this now. Choose the one thing you keep delaying. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Make the first version ugly. Step through the doorway. Then write one sentence at night. I showed up. Because the goal isn't to finish everything today. The goal is to stop disappearing from your own life. You delay what matters most because it threatens your comfort and your identity. But the life you want sits on the other side of that threat. Cross the line daily. Not with intensity, with consistency. Not with perfect plans, with small rules you can obey. Daniel didn't find a secret hack. He found a truth. The moment you stop managing your emotions with delay, you start managing your life with action. Meaning will always feel heavy. That's how you know it matters. Your job is not to wait until it feels light. Your job is to carry it in small pieces every day. Because the things that matter most don't get done by someday. They get done by today, repeated, boring, quiet, and real. Every story reshapes your mindset.